go ahead and let Coach Satterfield start us off, and then we'll take your questions. Again, you can leave it in the chat for me or go ahead and send me a text, and we'll get things rolling. Coach, it's all yours.
All right, thanks. Good afternoon, guys. I think first of all, after we had the pause there the last few days, we tested on Friday, the whole organization. We tested again yesterday. We had 0 positives from any of our athletes Friday and yesterday. Yesterday we had 0 positives total. And so we were able to practice last night. We had a good practice last night, and then of course, we're tested again today. We'll probably test, I think, maybe 4 times this week, just to make sure we're all headed in the right direction as we think we are. Today is our off day. We're back to normal routine now as far as practicing on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, travel day on Friday, and be ready to go on Saturday at 3:30. So, we were excited about being able to get back out on the field last night, and we waited really until we got all the results back before we even met with our guys. We didn't meet yesterday until 4:30 yesterday evening, practice at 6. And, so kind of a unique situation. Obviously, we game planned all last week for Virginia, and then, of course, we didn't play, and now you're right back on it again this week. But having most of all the work pretty much done, you're kind of just refining the game plan and kind of moving forward with everything. So we're back on schedule.
All right, we'll start things with Jody and then go over to Michael McCammon.
Coach, hey, it's Jody Denley. You kind of touched on it there, but just, I mean, during last week, were you still, obviously the game plan was already in. Do you tweak anything over the weekend? Kind of, what did you do as coaches over the weekend as far as looking ahead to this week, hoping that you were going to play, but not knowing specifically that you were?
Well, we stayed away as well. We put a pause on things. We did not come in only to test. So everybody was at their homes, and all our guys were back at their apartments, and so we didn't want to take a chance or anybody being in the building. So we did all that, and I think, Jody, you don't want to overanalyze an opponent. I've never been in favor of that, even when you've had a long time or 2 weeks to prepare for a team. You don't ever want to overanalyze it, because I think when it ends up being information overload, you start putting too many plays in offensively, defensively, and in the kicking game. And for us, so we didn't do any of that. We kind of you watch film and you can just keep your mind fresh about who you're getting ready to play and about things that are going on. But really you just stick with what you had in the game plan. And now as we start back practice this week, last night, you're looking at those plays and the different things, and you're going to be some tweaks here and there. Maybe things didn't look as good, and so you maybe refine them a little bit, but you're not going to do any kind of overhauling and really change or add a whole lot to the game plan.
Hey, Coach, Michael McCammon from Cardinal Authority. With all the testing and stuff, does that change an approach to when you have guys testing positive? Does that change an approach to how you run practice or anything like that? And are all the guys are out of quarantine, or are there still some in quarantine right now?
It really doesn't change. I mean, I think we've had our plan from day one about how we go about things and how we do things. It's, we continue doing the same things. You're obviously just very, cognizant of what's going on and what's happening right here, around our building. And so the guys, and our coaches, I think, are just, just more aware and just making sure. I think the biggest thing in all this is making sure you have enough distance between the next person. I think, whether it be in the building or out on the field. I mean, obviously when you're playing football, you're going to have some contact, but when you're not, making sure you have some of that distance there. And obviously in the building, we're all wearing masks and we're staying, away from it. It just makes you aware. To answer your question on quarantine, yes, we still have several that are not available, that are in quarantine. There's obviously protocols for that. If you're in quarantine, it's 14 days. And then, if you are positive, then it's a minimum of 10 days with that. And so, yeah, there's going to be guys that are still there in that quarantine. And, we'll see as the week goes on, do you have anybody available? And the only negative of that is, if you do, even if they do become available by the end of the week, they've missed 2 weeks, so they've missed all the, the training, the learning about who we're playing and all those type things and reps, quite honestly. So, really, kind of what we put out there for our two deep is really what we'll have available. There wouldn't really be any addition to that.
We'll go to Tyler Griever and then Jonathan Saxon.
Hey, Coach, first, when you say guys are still in quarantine, are you speaking about players specifically, or does that include staff members as well?
Both, as players and staff members that are still in the quarantine. And, it's probably, as we look past Virginia, that following week is when most all will be back available after this game.
Just as a quick follow-up, when you were talking a few weeks ago about the Notre Dame and Florida State games back-to-back, you referenced that the level of focus had really improved among your team and taking care of the little details. How concerning at all is it to try and get back to that level after going through kind of this uncertainty of the past week or so?
Well, yeah, it makes it a lot more difficult as you think back to, Notre Dame game. I thought we played very well in that game. We came up a little bit short. A 5-point loss, 12-7, and then you come back and you play Florida State, and man, we were hitting on all cylinders during that week, and then man, we thought we had a great week as we headed into Virginia Tech. I mean, so we look at those 3 weeks right there, everything was going smooth, and then of course Friday hit, and you wake up Saturday morning of game day, and you got all kind of adversity in your face. You're losing a lot of players particularly on the defensive side of the ball, but you're also just the psychological side of these things where. What a letdown it is right before the game, and then to go out there and play and, we didn't play great, still had an opportunity to win the game and you're right there at it, and then all of a sudden, now this hits last week, and you got to push it back. So it just feel like it's just one thing after another. Once we felt like we were starting to get things going, and then you have all the change and the routine is not the same and makes it a lot more challenging. And, and obviously we're trying to hone all that in and to refocus and to really, we can't control some of the things that have happened with the virus, but whoever's here and whoever's available, they have to have their mind here and not on something else and not worried about this or that. But you're here now, and let's put all our efforts into being the best team we can be.
Jonathan.
Hey, Scott. I was taking a look at Saturday's game. Virginia is not the best team when it comes to defending the pass. So, have you all kind of looked at this game and kind of what have the coaching staff's thoughts been in terms of using this game to progress Malik Cunningham in the passing game for the Cardinals?
Well, I mean, I think we certainly want to be very efficient in throwing the football. I mean, we know there's going to be opportunities there because it is every week, no matter who we play. Virginia does a really good job of containing the run. Conversely, they've given up some yards in the past. I think it's a lot of times it's difficult to be great at both. I think they've sold out on really trying to stop the run. They've done a great job of creating pressure and getting sacks. I think they sacked North Carolina 5 times last week. Snowden, number 11, has had tremendous the last 2 weeks. Really, really good game. 7.5 tackles for loss, and I think he's had 5 sacks over the last 2 weeks. So they do put pressure on the quarterbacks. But yeah, we want to continue to progress our passing game. Cunningham's had some good games, and we look back at the last game, we threw 350 yards and got us back in the game. And hopefully we'll be able to get that going early in this game and be able to hit some plays down the field. We still want to be able to run the football and find ways to run it, but I think obviously the passing game has to be an integral part of what we're doing to be able to get the ball down the field and to ultimately score points.
Go to Tim Sullivan and then to Jody again.
Scott, 2-part question. Do you expect to be shorthanded on defense again this week? And if so, doesn't that have an impact in your game planning? Wouldn't you want to run the ball a little more just to reduce the pressure on the defense?
Yeah, I think, Tim, we're going to be pretty much the same. Which is shorthanded. Particularly up front. I think as you look back to Virginia Tech, with 5 defensive linemen, obviously we're now preparing for that. But there are going to be guys that have not played very much there up front that may have to get reps, and of course we'll see how the game goes. But we'll certainly be a little bit more shorthanded on that side of the ball again. And you're right. we got to find a way to win the game, and to try to help our defensive out, and what does that entail, as we get into there? I mean, I think, as a staff, those are things that we're looking at. How can we help those guys out on that side of the ball? Obviously, if we can score points and touchdowns on offense, that's going to help. But you also, if you can limit possessions for them, obviously that's something that certainly can help. And, and if we can find ways to somehow, create some turnovers, we've been very deficient, I think, in the last 4 games, creating turnovers. I think maybe 1 at the Pitt game there. And, there hadn't been many. We had 1 at Florida State. I mean, it just hadn't been many over the last 4 or 5 games. And so try to create some pressure there so we can get some turnovers. But even in special teams and offense, what can we do to maybe try to steal possessions and or occupy the ball to where, Virginia is limited in their offensive production.
Jody.
Scott, two-part question, or 2 questions, I guess. First of all, do you expect to have all of your coaches available this weekend? And then the second part is, what was last night like after having to pause and not knowing, until middle of the day after you tested and all that? Once you got the guys back last night, what was the energy level like?
Now, the first question is yes, we have all our staff, coaching staffs available, and the second part of that it's been obviously tricky for our guys, because we practiced Wednesday night, and then all of a sudden, they're getting a text from us saying, guys, we're putting a pause on things, and really not a whole lot of explanation, I mean, they know why, but really there's not a whole lot of explanation. And other than the fact we said, guys, we're going to be testing Friday and Sunday, and then, we'll practice Sunday if everything goes according to plan, meaning there aren't any positives. And so for our guys, it's a little bit of what are we doing, and because they've seen other schools throughout the country, whenever they've paused things, sometimes it's been, a week, 2 weeks where they've had a lengthy pause, and where, we came back after about 4 days. And so, but it was good. I mean, I think initially when we first had our meeting, our guys were kind of looking around saying, what are we doing? But then once we got into it and got into practice, I thought the guys were flying around, and we had a very productive practice. There's a little bit more Sunday, what we did more than what a normal Sunday would be. We went shoulder pads and helmets and went for about an hour and 20 minutes, where we usually on a Sunday may go 30, 35 minutes. So we went a little bit more. I think 2 reasons. I think number one, since we had, so many days off there, kind of get them back going again, and also just so we can get some extra work and really, we already had the game plan in, so we already kind of knew the things we wanted to do play-wise on both sides of the ball.
Go to Russ Brown and then Jonathan.
Hey, Scott, Russ Brown. Coach Lester, when he was on last week, was talking about needing to get off to a faster start than you have in a lot of previous games, or some previous games, and how important that is. Can you put your finger on why you have had some problems starting fast offensively? I'm talking about,
yeah.
And just how big a concern is that to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, if we can put our finger on it, we would certainly put it right on it, and come out hitting on all cylinders right at the start. I think for whatever reason, if when teams come out and you first play the game, you're trying to figure each other out a little bit. This last game, we got sacked on the first play. Then, on third down, we get a first down, but we get called for a holding penalty. So then you're having to punt. I think, it's such a momentum game. If we can get off, get some points on the board early as an offense, then it obviously helps your defense, because now your defense feels like, man, okay, we got a little bit of a lead here now, and now let's cut loose and play. And if we make a mistake and they score, what does it really hurt? We're still in this game. We're still going to be a tied ball game. So, once you get behind like we did, like we have a couple of games this year, now you're looking to try to force it and get the ball down the field and try to score quickly and try to get back in the game. So yeah, if we can get some stuff going early, I think it helps our psyche. It obviously helps momentum. I think our kids play a lot better that way, and it really changes the course of the game. Instead of waking up and playing the last 3 quarters, we got to wake up from the start and play right initially the first drive.
Jonathan.
Having, recovered, or not recovered, but, getting back to playing after the COVID outbreak, have you all had any any more progress in tracing back the source of the outbreak? I think the last thing I saw was it was traced back to a practice player initially, but have there been any other updates in that area?
No, not really. I think the one player that's a freshman that was positive that one day. It seems like it stemmed kind of from him, from the initial test positive. But other than that, really not found anything. And we've had some staff members. I think Vince maybe touched on that a little bit last Wednesday. And really, who knows where that came from? We all go back to our homes, and of course, wives are doing jobs and all the other things. So who knows really where it comes from? I think, but I think the fortunate thing for us is we feel like we're kind of back under control now, with nobody testing positive, and Sunday and hopefully today. We haven't got the results back today yet, but you really don't know exactly where it's coming from.
Tyler and Jody.
Coach, we've talked about the need for younger players to have to step in a situation like this. Just from what you've seen out of their limited availability so far, what has stood out to you about what some of them have brought to the table? And is there anybody in particular that's kind of surprised you with what they've shown you so far?
Well, I think as a young player, you kind of just got to grow up right in front of our eyes, really. Like Desmond Taylor's one that's played a lot at nose. That's kind of helping out Goldwire there, so he can get a breather. I think he's one that's kind of stood out for us. It's interesting, to see how these guys, and like I told our guys yesterday, that you never know when you're going to get your opportunity. And for some of us out here on the field, your opportunity is coming a lot sooner than maybe you anticipated. So you have to be mentally ready, and obviously physically ready, but some of them have to be mentally ready, to go out and play and not have any kind of mistakes, because obviously that gets us beat. They get exposed. That's what I told them. I said, if you go out and play in this game and you're not ready mentally, you're going to get exposed. We're playing too many good football teams with good coaches and players, and they'll find you. And so I think more than anything, the mental aspect of that part of it's got to continue to get better for those young guys when they do get an opportunity. And it's really all about their preparation. I think as a young player, you think about high school, you can pretty much a lot of times show up and play, and you're going to look pretty good. Once you get to this level, you will get exposed if you're not mentally ready to go, and meaning exactly what your assignment is and what you have to do, and then just mentally ready to play at a high level, meaning 100% effort every single time. And I think that's the key. I think with any young player.
Jody, we talked early in the season a lot about special teams as far as with the punting unit and with Logan and now Ryan. Can you speak a little bit about what the guys Turner and then Travelstead and Chalafo as kickoff, and Turner with the field goals and extra points, on what they have done this year, and maybe specifically with Brock being that guy that's won the kickoff battle, and you've had some pretty good success, putting the ball in the end zone.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot of those guys. I think where you look at some teams, they may have one guy that kind of can do it all. Where we kind of spread it out, and several different guys have had different roles in what they were doing, just like Chalafo did in the last game, where he had to pooch some balls, where he had to onside kick. Brock's been our main guy kicking the ball off. JT has been, I think, done a great job, which was a big unknown for us as far as kicking field goals. I mean, he's done a very, very good job. I mean, I get to watch him every day in practice, and he is very, very solid. I think, what does he miss? The two over 50 maybe this year. So, I think he's done a great job kicking field goals for us. And, we've had to play 2 punters. So, I mean, what is that? 5 different kickers, I think, have had to have jobs this year in order to help us. And so they'll continue to get better. And, it'd be nice if you had one guy to do it all, but at least we have, several guys that can kind of, have their roles on this team and continue to do a good job for us.
All right, we'll finish with that. Thanks, Coach, and thanks everybody for being with us.
Thanks, guys.